A monocular cue is a cue about distance based on the image in either eye alone. There are two types of monocular cues. The first type is called a motion parallax, and the types of cues that I will be discussing are called the pictorial depth cues, and these are clues about distance that can be given in like a flat picture, for example, and there are 6 prominent cues that I'm going to be discussing today. So the first one is linear perspective, and I took a picture of like State Street with a capital at the end, then you can just see both the roads, because linear perspective is a depth clue that utilizes the fact that lines converge in the distance. So that is, parallel lines will get closer together or narrower as they appear farther from the viewer. And like a common illustration is like of a road, which is kind of what I did. The next thing is texture gradients, and I just used this picture of a brick road downtown, and basically texture gradients is just like the surface quality of an object. So for example, we see less texture on something that's farther away. The third cue is interposition, which involves objects that appear to be coming in between the viewer and another object. So if an object is interfering with or overlapping the sight of the second object, it's perceived as closer than the second to the viewer. So in this one, the boy is walking in front of the fountain, so he looks closer than the fountain does, but he might not necessarily be. Next, I did relative size, which basically is stating that closer objects will appear larger than objects that are far away. So therefore, if two objects are expected to be the same size, then the larger object will appear closer. And for this example, I took a picture of a flower downtown, and the flower is really close up, and it just looks a lot bigger than the rest of them, even though it's the same size flower. The next cue is height and plane, which basically states that in a picture, objects that are further from the viewer will appear higher in the visual field, and then likewise, lower objects suggest that they are closer to the viewer. So in this example, I took a picture of this like bike rack, or like the rentable bikes downtown, and if you look at it, like the farther it goes, like the last bike looks higher up in the visual plane than the first bike. And the final cue is relative brightness, or light and shadow, which are basically patterns of light and dark, which can create the illusion of a three-dimensional figure. This concept can also be useful in judging distance. So I took a picture of a flower downtown, and you can kind of see that like it's reflecting more light since it's like closer. So nearby objects reflect more light.